This is why they make the C-tube so short. All right, throttle only. We'll see how fast we can get to 20. Briefly about comfort, because Euphree does it very well. That's just one of the premium components on the Stellar Falcon that I really like. More and more people are looking for that ultimate do-everything ride, what some people are calling the SUV of e-bikes. I hate comparing vehicles to bikes, but it is an easy way to understand bikes like this. The Euphree Stellar Falcon has always been a top contender in this category, and today we're looking at the Stellar Falcon 2. Welcome back to E-Bike Escape. My name is Ryan. In this review, I'll walk you through all the components, highlight where Euphree adds some premium components, then of course we'll take it for a ride and we'll talk all about how the bike performs, and then I'll wrap things up with my concluding thoughts, and by the end you should have a good idea if this might be your next e-bike. But first, let's take a closer look. So what exactly has changed? Well, Euphree is leaning even harder into comfort with this update. They've adjusted the head tube angle for a more upright riding position. They've also upped the disc brake rotor size for increased stopping power. And crucially, the motor is much quieter. That was my main criticism of the previous generation, so I'm happy that they addressed it. A small change is the updated square rectangle headlight. The freewheel is now 10 to 32 teeth, something you're not going to find on any e-bike. That's down from the 11-tooth cog for the highest gear. And they say that will virtually eliminate ghost pedaling, though we'll wait and see for the first-person riding footage. There's also connection points in case you want to add a rear cafe lock. Aesthetically, we have new colorways: moonstone gray, metallic blue, and this really nice black cherry. Hopefully the camera does justice to the sparkly paint job that really shines when the sun hits it just right. You still have a choice between the step-through, what you see here, and the mid-step. I'm partial to the step-through for the maximum amount of accessibility, but I'm not going to lie, the mid-step looks great too. And as a 6-foot-tall rider, I can still get full leg extension. My wife, who's 5'5", fits on the bike just fine too. But importantly, if you're on the higher end, you may want to consider that mid-step because the C-tube is a little bit higher. They really made this as short as possible so smaller riders can fit on this bike. And there's another reason they do that, which I'll talk about in a bit. The mid-step also has a longer stem, but both of them are adjustable. And also importantly, on the step-through, you get these very nice swept-back handlebars. And on the mid-step, they still put you in a more upright riding position, though it's just a little bit more of a sporty ride. So if that's what you're after, also consider the mid-step. But if you want that traditional cruiser feel, go with the step-through. Max capacity is 350 pounds. The bike weighs in at 74 pounds. Now that we've talked about what's new and the different frame options, let's talk price. The Stellar Falcon 2 comes in at $22.99. Euphree has 190 dealers now across the United States, so you can buy in store if you happen to live near one. Or if you're buying online, be sure to check out our link down in the description or scan the QR code on your screen now before you buy. It's free and truly makes videos like this one possible. Thank you for your support. And Euphree at this point has been around for a number of years. I've heard great things about their customer support, so they are a trusted brand. And of course, the dealership network only adds to that credibility. The Stellar Falcon 2 is powered by a Bafang 750-watt motor that peaks at 1200 watts, 90 newton meters of torque. And now the max motor noise is 60 decibels. We'll listen to it in the first-person riding footage. And yes, the motor is engaged with either a cadence or a torque sensor, your choice. Battery located underneath the frame. To remove it, put the keys in, turn to the left. There is a lever. Use that to release the battery. This is a 48-volt, 15-amp-hour battery. The battery itself is certified to UL2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL2849. Battery indicator at the top. You can charge the battery with the port here, or while it's in the bike by removing this rubber cover. You get a 2-amp charger, so between 7 and 8 hours to charge it up from empty. You also get a manual, some stickers, and tools for assembly, along with a Euphree branded burlap bag. To put the battery back in, terminals first, snap into place. And don't forget to turn the keys to the right to lock the battery in the frame. There's a look at those massive 203mm rotors, Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. The tires come from Schwalbe. They're called the Johnny Watts. They're 27.5 by 2.8 inches wide. Off-road tread, love the name brand tires. That's one area where you're getting more premium components. Up front, you get an SR Suntour XCM32 air suspension fork, 90mm of travel. This is what you can expect. Air adjustment on the left here. Make sure you use a shock pump. Lockout on the right. And there's a rebound adjustment. And besides the front suspension, you also get rear suspension with a name brand SR Suntour NCX suspension Seatpost. Trust me, it adds a ton of comfort. Preload adjustment on the bottom depending on your weight. And this is why they make the seat tube so short, so that shorter riders can still enjoy the comfort of a suspension Seatpost, because of course this adds about 4 inches of height. 4 mounting points for Eupphree's front basket, really clean cable routing, the new rectangle headlight that runs off the main battery, rear lights can flash and when you brake go solid, the huge swept-back handlebars with that adjustable stem, SP Connect connector here so you can put your phone here if you want. You will need a compatible case though, or their universal connection. Euphree locking ergonomic grips, matching Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers with motor cutoffs, a left-hand thumb throttle, there's a nice bell, and Shimano's 8-speed trigger shifter. This is our cell phone mount, the one I use in every single video. What I love about it is it's just completely secure. Screw this down and lock your phone into place and it just won't go anywhere. This and other high quality e-bike accessories available at shop.ebikeescape.com. Your purchase also helps us out, so thanks. Moving to the display, there's a USB-C port located beneath the display. Power button in the center. On the left, you have pedal assist levels, off, eco, tour, sport, and turbo, speed front and center, odometer, trip, and average speed. Battery capacity on the right. You can turn the lights on by holding pedal assist up. To get into the advanced settings, hold pedal assist up and down at the same time. First, we have display setting. This is where you can set the auto off, reset your trip, adjust screen brightness, and importantly, drive mode. This is where you switch between the cadence or the torque sensor. There's a light mode, standard or flashing. In advanced setting, this is where you can change the ride style for each pedal assist level, adjust the timing to fast, medium, or low, as well as the power assist. You can see in turbo, the power assist is set much higher. So they give you 3 settings to choose within each pedal assist level. In e-bike class, you can change it from class 1, 2, 3, or unlimited. In throttle settings, you can adjust how the throttle performs. I'll talk about this in the first person riding footage. Going back to the main settings, a couple other things to point out here. You can change the theme and also set a password if you'd like. And that's it for at least the important settings within this display. There's 2 bottle cage mounts on the down tube, plastic pedals, a sturdy kickstand, and a rear rack with a 25 kilogram max capacity. It's MIC compatible. What does that mean? Well, this bike is compatible with any MIC accessory. Euphree sells their own. We have some available at shop.ebikeescape.com. We did a whole video on MIC accessories, so be sure to check out that if you're looking for additional cargo capability. The derailleur is Shimano Altus, 10 to 32 teeth in the rear, 50 tooth chainring up front, dual-sided. Nice chainstay protector. With that, I'm excited to go for a ride. Let's see how this bike performs on and off the road. All right, throttle only. We'll see how fast we can get to 20. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. I do have the throttle in turbo mode, so maximum power here. And there's 20. Note that this is an early model and the throttle isn't correctly stopping at 20 miles per hour, though if you buy this bike, it will stop at 20. All right, now I want to set throttle to eco. That means I'm going to get a less power, so think more accessible. Let's see how that feels. A very gentle takeoff. I actually really like having this as a separate setting for throttle only. For those folks who just want a little bit of power, they don't need to launch to 20 miles per hour. You can see that we are just creeping up speed. There's 15 miles an hour. From an accessibility standpoint, I think it is a smart decision. So you can change your throttle power output if you want to. Also, just with thumb throttles, they're harder to modulate than the twist grip throttle, so that just gives you more options. Next, let's go through the various pedal assist levels. We are going to start with the cadence sensor. Note in Eco, I have timing set to low and power assist set to 10%, so the lowest setting. Tour and Sport, I have right in the middle, and then in Turbo, I cranked everything up. Timing is at fast, and power assist is set to 90%. And again, you can adjust these to your liking, but I think that's going to be the best for testing this bike out. Let's start in Eco. About a half pedal stroke in first gear for the cadence sensor to recognize that I'm pedaling. So remember, a cadence sensor is kind of like an on-off switch. If I'm pedaling, I'm going to get power from the motor. Of course, how much depends on the pedal assist level. So I'm in Eco now. Let's go into fourth gear here. So just cruising nice and easy at 12 miles an hour. Remember, that's with the settings turned down in Eco. So 12 miles per hour is the cruising speed. Let's go into Tour. Feel a little bit more there. We do have this in class 3 mode. There's fifth gear, feels like a nice and gentle cadence. Going at 17. Let's go into Sport. Creeping up there, 19. Shift up to sixth gear, 21. All right, still in Sport, sixth gear. I could shift up to seventh. Looks like we are creeping up in speed. There's 23, 24, 25. All right, let's go into Turbo. All right, I did feel a difference there. 27, 28 miles an hour without breaking a sweat. 29. All right, very powerful. So that is the cadence sensor. Next, let's talk about the torque sensor. All right, I have it in Eco and faster engagement with the torque sensor because it's sensing that I'm pedaling. And of course, the more pedal pressure that I put in, the more power I'm going to get from the motor. Again, more power though in the higher pedal assist levels. All right, third gear. So what I like to do is talk about just a cruising speed, and then I'll put in a little bit more leg power, not too much though. So still with the torque sensor in Eco, cruising at 11 miles an hour, very easy. So still capable of basically hitting what I was doing with the cadence sensor. All right, let's put in a little bit more power. Not feeling a whole lot from the motor. There's 14 miles an hour and I'm feeling some resistance. So I'm guessing if I want to go faster, I'm going to have to go in a higher pedal assist level. But if you want to get more of a workout, 14, 15 miles an hour, doable in Eco. And remember, I had those settings turned all the way down, so perhaps not surprising for Eco, not getting a whole lot of power. But I personally really like Eco not giving me a lot of power. I like reserving Eco as the pedal assist level where I'm just getting a little bit of boost. All right, I've got it in Tour now, still third gear, cruising at 13 miles an hour, so just slightly faster. Let's shift up to fourth gear. All right, 14 miles an hour and more leg power. All right, I can hear the motor just a little bit. It is quieter than the last version. 16 miles an hour. Let's shift up to fifth gear. All right, even more leg power. 18 miles an hour. Certainly feeling it in my legs, but not something I couldn't do for a long period of time. Just shy of 20 miles per hour in Tour. All right, let's see what the cruising speed is in Sport. So 4 levels of pedal assist, getting closer to the highest. Fifth gear, nice and easy. Now it's easier to cruise at 18 miles an hour. Shift up to sixth gear here. All right, a little bit more leg power. Let's see if we can get into the 20s. Oh, 22 already, 23. So not too hard to hit into the 20s. Now remember, I cranked those settings for turbo, so let's see what we get here. All right, now easily cruising at 21 miles an hour. I can feel the motor. It wants to give me more because I'm just barely spinning my legs, but then I must be giving it just slightly more during some of my pedal strokes. So the motor is reacting to that. It's very sensitive. Nice acceleration. All right. So 7th gear now. So yeah, cruising at 25 miles an hour, super easy. So it doesn't take much to get the full power out of the motor. I mean, cruising at 28. Now, not as easy as the Cadence sensor, of course. We are on our way to the hill climb test. Let's talk briefly about comfort because Euphree does it very well. They've been doing this for years. The suspension Seatpost helps soak up those small bumps while you're riding, which I love. It makes a huge difference. Even if you're riding on the streets, going over some bumpy areas, you will feel the additional comfort. And then, yes, the suspension fork on this bike, I will take it slightly off-road in a little bit, but you can, compared to some of the more budget-style forks that you often see at, say, the sub-$2,000 price point, this one you can actually feel more so that it's giving you comfort even on more pavement riding in the streets. Of course, it's also going to give me more comfort off-road as well. But that's just one of the premium components on the Stellar Falcon that I really like. Of course, you have the swept back handlebars, adjustable stem. This is just perfect for cruising, very comfortable riding position. That really goes with any bike with swept back handlebars and an adjustable stem though. Actually like the ergonomic grips, comfortable as well. All right, let's do a quick brake test. We have to stop anyway here. 32 miles an hour. All right, no problem slowing me down. Tektro hydraulic disc brakes are among my favorite. They feel really nice and plenty of stopping power. All right, with that, let's get into our hill climb test and see how this motor performs. All right, this is our hill. It's huge. We'll put the specs on the screen because the GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is. And our first test will be throttle only. We will see what the minimum speed is. I don't think this motor is going to have a problem getting us to the top. 13, there's 12, 11, 10. And I know for a fact that I would hear this motor whining a lot more if it was the previous generation. There's 9 for a second. All right, and we made it to the top. 9 miles per hour was the minimum speed. Let's go back down though and see how it performs while pedaling. We're going to use the torque sensor. I think that's what most people will use on this bike though. I have no doubt that with the Cadence sensor, it will be super easy. All right, first gear, eco, significant amount of work. I would be winded at the top. Let's go into tour, a little bit of relief there, going up at 5 miles an hour. All right, let's go into sport. Feeling more power from the motor, 6 miles an hour. Let's go up into turbo. Okay, so if you want to get up the hill, with the torque sensor and you don't want to put in a ton of effort, I'm going to recommend that you use turbo because kind of as long as I'm spinning my legs here in first gear, it's giving me a decent amount of power where I'm not having to work too hard, going up at 7 miles an hour. And sometimes with torque sensors, it's harder to get more power from the motor. Now, of course, if I could even shift up third gear, and I can get a little bit more power from the motor, but even just barely putting in power in turbo, you still get enough, in my opinion, to get up a large hill like that. All right, let's do some off-roading. One thing I forgot to mention was that at high speeds, 28 miles per hour, shouldn't be surprising since they designed it this way, but no issues with ghost pedaling at high speeds thanks to that new freewheel. All right, let's take this bike off-road. So first off, is this a trail bike? Certainly not, but is it more capable than a lot of other electric bikes? Most definitely. The front tires just give you more confidence. They're wider, more knobby. They allow you to go off the beaten path, light off-roading, let's call it. And then, of course, the front suspension fork is a really nice addition to give you comfort when you're off-road as well. Now, the swept-back handlebars on the step-through, at least, are not really conducive to off-roading. I mean, crushed gravel, of course, but they just don't give you control as, say, mountain bike handlebars. So if you want to do more of the trail riding, off-road riding, crushed gravel paths, maybe opt for that mid-step with a more active riding position. But between all the factors that we talked about, plus the suspension seat posts, this bike is more capable and it's going to be more comfortable than a lot of e-bikes on the market. Call it a dual purpose electric bike, a hybrid electric bike, whatever you want to call it. And you don't have to take this bike off-road, but just know that some of the component choices are going to allow you to do so within reason. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I will give you my concluding thoughts on the Euphree Stellar Falcon 2. Eupphree's ethos has always been about thoughtful, iterative improvements rather than massive overhauls. I'm completely on board with that. The Stellar Falcon 2 builds on an already solid base, making minor but impactful tweaks. The devil is really in the details. At $22.99, this is a step up in price compared to many of the other e-bikes we cover here on the channel. So let's talk about what I love about the Stellar Falcon 2, and then we'll cover a few considerations. First off, the 750 watt Bafang motor. Motor noise isn't usually something I make a big deal about, but the first generation was unquestionably loud. I'm really happy to report they've quieted that down significantly here. When it comes to knowing your customer, Euphree pays attention more than others. That's really reflected in the new head tube angle. They have always prioritized adjustable stems, so combining that with this new geometry means an even more relaxed riding position. Even though this bike looks aggressive with those awesome name brand Schwalbe Johnny Watts tires, you're not compromising on comfort thanks to the swept-back handlebars. I'm also a big fan of having the not so swept-back handlebars on the mid-step version, so if you plan to take your bike more off-road and aren't looking for traditional cruiser bars, you can still dial in a great riding position thanks to the adjustable stem. At this higher price point, you expect higher end features, and Euphree delivers. They've included an SR Suntour NCX suspension seat post, a really high quality one that I love. Plus, they've managed to slam the seat tube down as low as possible, so even shorter riders can take advantage of the enhanced comfort. Up front, you get an SR Suntour air suspension fork, and yes, you can absolutely tell the difference compared to budget options. The Tektro hydraulic brakes are the same, but the step up to larger rotors is a great addition. And while looks are certainly subjective, I think Euphree bikes always just look great. They choose great colors, and it looks like a premium paint job. You also have a lot of versatility here. Add their front basket if you'd like, and that rear rack is MIC compatible. When it comes to power delivery, I really enjoy having all the customization between the pedal assist levels. Having both a cadence and a torque sensor is great, but the torque sensor really shines here in my opinion. As I demonstrated, you can tweak the settings, so in turbo mode, you don't have to work too hard to get that full 1200 watts of peak power. We also need to talk about range. It's equipped with a 48 volt 15 amp hour battery using LG cells, which should give riders about 30 miles of range on the low end in the higher pedal assist levels using lots of throttle, and up to 60 miles or maybe even 70 like Euphree claims in the lower pedal assist levels. Now onto the considerations. While the bike itself is packed with premium hardware, it falls a bit short on the tech and ease of use side compared to other brands around this price point. Customizing things on the display is nice, but digging through the settings can be cumbersome. I wouldn't call it completely unintuitive. If you can navigate your smartphone, you'll probably be fine, but it definitely could be easier. To be fair, it's also probably something you only go in and change a couple of times until you have the settings dialed in. An app could help resolve this, letting you tweak settings from your phone, and could introduce features we're seeing from competitors like GPS bike tracking, Apple Find My, ride logs, and the list goes on. Either way, a more trimmed down, condensed display menu would also be a welcome update. However, for the I don't need fancy tech crowd, this is maybe a pro. You don't have to worry about whether your bike is up to date. This bike prioritizes just being an awesome bike to ride. It's also worth noting that the Stellar Falcon 2 is a beast, weighing in at 74 pounds. If you even think a little bit you might want something lighter, I'd recommend checking out their Solar Sparrow. And if you're not quite sold on off-roading, the City Robin is a great alternative that keeps those cruiser vibes but is meant to stick to pavement with less knobby tires. If we've helped you with your purchase decision, be sure to check the links in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before you buy. Thank you so much for your support. To wrap up, if you're looking for a do-everything e-bike that packs premium features at a still attractive price point, the Stellar Falcon 2 should definitely be on your list to delve into. There aren't a ton of e-bikes with this unique DNA that prioritize comfort while still being able to take it off-road. The fact that their dealership network is expanding only makes things more appealing. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.